Earlier this year, Panasonic dropped the S5 II and S5 IIX. These are two cameras that had both the video prowesses of their powerhouses like the S1H, but combined it with their new face detection autofocus system. Finally, given their full-frame cameras amazing autofocus for video work, and they've finally done the same for their Micro Four Thirds cameras with their new G9 Mark II. Now, I'm usually the one that does all the reviews and everything related to Lover of Tech, but actually this is Matthew's review and experience of the G9 II. If you don't know Matthew, he's our resident in-house intern, production assistant and video editor, and he loves all things cameras and especially Micro Four Thirds. So again, I said go to town with the body and the camera lenses and let me know what your experience is. So this is his review. So without wasting much time, let's get into it. Now, firstly, a massive thank you to Lumix themselves for letting us go crazy with the camera, because we've tested the G9 II with the three following lenses, the 10-25 and the 25-50 f1.7 zooms and the 12mm f1.4. Let's start with the body, and the G9 II uses the exact same body as the S5 II and the S5 IIX. This was mainly chosen to keep the cost of the camera body down, and although I'm personally not too fussed about the change, not everyone sees this as a great thing. Now consider this, many people actually bought the original G9 for the top LCD, as you could actually glance at the settings while you were away from the camera. But overall, I personally respect Lumix's reasoning in doing so. One strange omission is the built-in fan, which is the only way to distinguish it from the S5 II. As it shares the same body as the bigger brothers, it shares the same port selection with two UHS 2 SD card slots on the right, and on the left, a USB 3.2 Type-C port, a full-size HDMI 2.1 port, and two 3.5mm jacks for headphone and microphones respectively. Now let's dive into the sensor. The G9 Mark II actually shares the same sensor with the GH6, which is a 25.2 megapixel Micro Four Thirds sensor with a few changes. The dynamic range boost, where the camera actually captures two different exposure values and combines them together, is now always enabled and bypasses the GH6's minimum 2000 ISO requirement, a welcome improvement. Now we've taken, on this particular situation, Matthew's taken the G9 II with him for a few car photo shoots, and it's always surprised him how good the camera has been on capture. And this is really down to the fact that there's few things that they've done to improve it. One of those things is a brand new shutter on the G9 II, which actually allows up to 10 FPS burst shooting with continuous autofocus. But again, as we all know, Micro Four Thirds sensors are somewhat small, so there are limits to how far you can push the ISO. Now, we do wish the camera did have a dual native ISO like the GH5S to keep the noise to a minimum, but for Micro Four Thirds camera, this is the best performing one so far that we've used. Now, when it comes to video recording, Lumix does not skimp out on the amount of options you have when you're recording, ranging from 1080p up to 240 FPS, up to 5.8K at 60 FPS, with recording formats ranging from MP4 all the way up to Apple ProRes 422HQ. Now, to get the most out of the video recording options, you will need to use an external SSD. Now, we've been using SanDisk's 1TB Extreme SSD to shoot a mix of 4K ProRes 422 and 4K 10-bit MOV clips, and it hasn't failed on us yet, allowing us to actually use the camera to its full potential while still having a lot of storage space to work with. Now, this part is only a minor gripe, but look, we do wish Lumix automatically switch the SD cards when an SSD isn't plugged in, as you do have to toggle the SSD USB setting on and off when taking stills or shooting in the modes that don't require an SSD. Lumix also offers full V-Log for the G9 II, providing the most dynamic range and making it easier to color match to the S5 II. The native ISO is relatively low at a base of 500, but again, we do wish it still had dual native ISO. In regards to the image stabilization, the IBIS on the G9 II is by far the best we've used so far, with 8 stops, making for handheld exposure shots a breeze and making shooting telephoto video light work. Now, Matthew recently shot a little interview style video for his friend using a handheld mode, using a 25-50mm lens. Most of the shots were actually shot at 50mm, and the stabilization was incredible. This also translates well into photos and allowing you to drop the shutter down to 1/15 and getting handheld shots without any issues. I can confidently say this is the best IBIS available on the market, hands down. Now comes the biggest improvement, autofocus. The G9 Mark II uses the new face detection autofocus system, which is light years better than their DFD-based autofocus from before. This locks on and tracks whatever is in frame. Now, Matthew himself is shooting a lot of stationary products as well as moving products like cars, and if you consider what you're getting from it, it's actually been great. Even when he's using zone, even with that, the autofocus is so natural and to the point where it doesn't even skip a beat whenever you're actually closer or further away. When it comes to tracking eyes, it's spot on. The G9ii locks on without any issue and will follow the subject's eyes. And when the eyes are not visible, it's gonna track their heads. The G9ii itself actually retails for around £1,700 for the body only, $2,250 with the Leica kit lens. Now the pricing is dangerously close to the full frame S5 II. But if you're already in the macro four thirds ecosystem looking for an upgrade, the G9 Mark II makes absolute sense. Now in the time that we spent with the G9ii, we've actually been left quite impressed with what Lumix has in store for the macro four thirds lineup. With their new autofocus system combined with the amazing video specs from the G6, amazing image stabilization with the IBIS, this actually makes the camera wholeheartedly an easy recommend. So as stated before, this is Matthew's experience and his G9ii review. So fully scripted, I'm literally just a placeholder in the middle talking about it. So you happy with that? Yeah. Cool, he's happy. So if you're happy and you want to see more camera reviews like this, then be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. So we'll see you in the next one. Peace.